Hello and welcome to the trial balance video where we're going to discuss how to prepare the trial balance and the adjusted trial balance. By this point you should have your general ledger completely filled out, and as you can see mine is not. I only have a few things that I put in from the last video to demonstrate how the general ledger works. So yours should be completely filled out at this point for each and every one of these. Whatever journal entries that took place need to be posted over here. Make sure that you get the balances that you need here based on any journal entries that were transferred over. That's called posting. Okay, once that's done, you're ready to go to your trial balance. Now, there's a sheet called Worksheet at the bottom. I moved mine over. I don't know if you know this, but you can just grab them and move them around as much as you want. But I moved mine over next to General Ledger to make it easier to see. Now, what's required for this assignment is that you do the trial balance adjustment and adjust the trial balance. The income statement and balance sheet are required as a full reportable income statement and balance sheet, which is going to be covered in the next one. However, most accountants, I should say, like to use these this worksheet to do their income statement and balance sheet to make sure everything is right. You don't have to. I won't take off for it, but it's a good idea if you want to try to do that. Alright, so all we're going to do is we're going to go to the general ledger and take each account. So the first one we have is cash, and we're going to take whatever the balance is. Make sure you get the balance before the adjusting entries, right? I don't want, if there was an adjusting entry that hit cash, there isn't, but if there was one, then I would want to take the balance before the adjusting entry, not after the adjusting entry. So in this case, there's no adjusting entry, and we're going to pretend for this example that we've done everything for cash that we want to, and we're going to go to the worksheet, and our first account is cash, and the amount is $42,247. These should be put in the same order as your chart of accounts, which the general ledger should already be in. So that's all you do for each of these, right? And you would just go to the next one, which is petty cash, move that one over, on down the line, and making sure that you pull any balances that are before the adjusting entries, because those adjusting entries are going to go in the adjustments area. At the bottom of the trial balance, the debit column should equal the credit column. So if you add up everything in the debit column, it should equal everything in the credit column. If it doesn't, that means you've done one of two things. Either one of your journal entries does not have debits equal credits, or you did a miscalculation when you were doing you didn't calculate your balance correctly in the general ledger, or you missed or forgot something in the general ledger. Because if everything was done correctly, then think about it. If all your journal entries have debits equal credits, then your trial balance has to balance. In the old days, this was one of the key ways they found if there was an error, right? Because if the debits didn't equal the credits, they knew they needed to go back and find whatever error there was. So that was one of the most important reasons that they did trial balances before the computer days. Now that we have all these sophisticated accounting programs, we don't really need to do the trial balance on our own like we're doing it here, because it's automatically done, as they say, with the press of a button. However, it's important that we do it in our classroom assignments, because you're going to really learn how the accounting system works by doing it by hand. You don't want to do this on a daily, or monthly basis by hand, but when you're learning it, just believe me, it really helps you to really grasp the concept of the accounting process and the accounting system as it works. Okay, so once you get your trial balance to work, you want to go to your adjusting entries. So you just go down here, and I'm just going to use this one, right? And I misspelled depreciation there, so let me fix that. Here's one of the adjusting entries we need to do: depreciation expense for store equipment. So we want to go over here to our worksheet, go down the line till we find depreciation expense. It could be there's not one because it's zero, or that you put it in with a zero balance. So let's pretend like it's right here, depreciation expense. and it's going to have a zero balance, right? Depreciation expense is a temporary account, so it's zero on the general ledger, right? So our adjusting entry adds $500 to that, so we'll put in our adjustment of $500, right? So now how does this affect our adjusted trial balance? Well, our adjusted trial balance is going to take whatever's here plus or minus our adjustment. So a debit plus a debit, or a debit minus a credit, gives me my new balance. And this, if there's no adjustment to cash, then we just bring it over, right? 42,247. Let's see, 42,247. But then when you get down to here where we have zero and $500, then our new adjusted balance for the depreciation expense is going to be $500. Let's look at it with the accumulated depreciation. If we go down to our general ledger and look up accumulated depreciation, we see that it's 10,500 credit balance. So we would go down here till we found accumulated depreciation, store equipment, and we see that the balance, we saw that it was 10,500, and our adjusting entry from the journal was a debit of credit of $500. So the credit amount is $500. So what is our new adjusted balance? Well, it's a credit balance plus a credit adjustment, so that would be 11,000. As you can see, if you do a debit and a credit that equals each other for every one of these adjusting entries that you have up here, the insurance supplies, allowance for doubtful accounts, etc., then your adjustments your debits should equal your credits here, and then because it's affecting your trial balance, which should already be in balance, since you're affecting it by the exact same amount for both the debits and the credit side, then your adjusted trial balance should equal. Now, if all that equals, then you're done as far as the assignment's concerned. But the next part of the assignment is doing a financial statement. So you might want to go ahead and fill out these two areas of your worksheet to get ready to do your financial statements. It'll make it easier. Your income statement, you only want to pull over your accounts that are associated with the income statement, and they go here. Your balance sheet, you would only want to pull over the balance sheet account. So your adjusted entry, for example, for cash would be in this example would be 42,247. Remember, these numbers are not the final number, so they're just used for examples. So any balance sheet account would be brought over there, and then again, how you have to make sure your debits equal your credits. Well, how will that work if your income statement has more revenue coming in than expenses? Then your debits won't equal your credits. That's your net income. So you would add an account, or you would add a row called net income, and that would go into your, depending if you had a profit or a loss, would go in the proper column to get your debits to equal your credit for net income. For your balance sheet, you don't have to deal with net income directly, but you do have to deal with it in retained earnings. Make sure for your balance sheet you don't use the current retained earnings, right? Don't use the old retained earnings that we're opening with. You want to adjust your retained earnings for your new net income. So that on your balance sheet you want to use your new retained earnings in this area, not your beginning retained earnings. If you do that, then your debits will equal your credits here. Now it's useful to see that all your debits equal your credits for every one of these areas, but because it really helps you make sure that you got everything correct. Okay, so at a minimum you have to do these three areas. However, it's going to be useful for the next part of the assignment to do the income statement and balance sheet. Just doing this is not going to count as your income statement and balance sheet. you have to do the income statement and balance sheet in proper form, meaning how it would look if you when you turned it in to your boss, or when you reported it to the stockholders or to the bank or whatever. So you have to do a separate page with your income statement, statement of retained earnings, and balance sheet. But this would be useful to get ready to prepare that. All right, so that's basically what we're going to, the gist of doing your trial balances, and just some key things to remember. Make sure your debits equal your credits for each of these areas. If they don't, and if your trial balance, your initial trial balance doesn't have a debits equal credits, go back and make sure you captured all of your general ledgers and you didn't make any mistakes on the calculation to get your general ledger balance. If that seems all to be correct, go back and make sure you didn't miss a journal entry somewhere, one of the journal entries, and that all your journal entries have debits equal credits. If all that stuff is equals, then it has to work. So that's that's how you know that there's an error somewhere when your debits don't equal your credits. All right, so I'll see you in the final video, which is going to be next, which is preparing the financial statements.